Hi, everyone. Today, I am excited to have Danielle and Sully from St. Michael's College here with us today. We're going to have a really awesome chat, especially because Sully is a recent grad of St. Michael's College. So we've got lots of juicy questions, I'm sure, for you that we will ask. But before we get into that, Danielle, why don't you introduce yourself and share a little bit about your connection with St. Mike's?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kristina. My name is Danielle Schiestle, and I'm an admission counselor at St. Mike's. I've been with St. Michael's College for 3 years now. While I didn't attend St. Mike's, I love it very dearly. I got connected to it through a friend of mine when I did a post-grad year of service with the Jesuit Volunteer Corps. So I love chatting about service opportunities with students if that's something that you're interested in. I recruit students from all of the Midwest, so I'm often coming to Ohio and other Midwestern states. I'm originally a Wisconsinite myself. I also recruit in Western Pennsylvania, New York City, and all of Maine. I work with our honors program too, and I just really love chatting with students, reading your essays, and talking about all things college access.
Awesome. Sully.
Yeah, well, I've been with St. Mike's for the past 4 years, fresh out of the oven grad of 2020, which is really exciting. I just started this position as an admission counselor 2 weeks ago, which is super awesome because I wasn't really sure what life after St. Mike's would look like without the St. Mike's piece in it. I'm serving on the East Coast, mainly New York. And then I'm going to expand down to Maryland, DC, and Delaware area. So really right now I'm just in the training stages of my new job and leaning on my past 4 years experience with St. Mike's.
Well, you have a great person to be kind of shadowing with Danielle. She's awesome, and then I'm sure she's probably going to learn some things from you too, from a student perspective, which is great. Danielle, do you just want to just give us an overview, or Sully, an overview of St. Mike's, a little bit, some of the just basic facts about the school?
Yeah, absolutely. So fast facts that you need to know about St. Michael's is that we are a small private Catholic liberal arts and sciences college right outside of Burlington, Vermont. So fully residential means that all of our students are living on campus all 4 years. So it doesn't matter where you're coming from, you'll have a home right on our campus. You don't have to worry about finding off-campus housing. Burlington is constantly ranked one of the top college towns in the nation. So we have a couple other schools in the area, and it's a really vibrant, artsy campus community. If you are familiar with places like Portland, Oregon, Madison, Wisconsin, it has pretty similar vibes to those areas. That Catholic piece, we were founded by the Society of St. Edmund in 1907. They're a teeny tiny order of Catholic priests that originated in France, then came to the US by way of Canada, and ended up in Vermont as well as Selma, Alabama. They were really involved in the civil rights movement, and some of our Edmundite priests are still there to this day, so we're actually the only Edmundite college in the world. We are Division II for all of our varsity sports. We have 21 varsity sports. We do have athletic scholarships. That's kind of us in a nutshell. I'll pass it over to Sully, who I'm sure can speak a little bit more to the student experience, what he studied, what exactly that liberal arts and sciences curriculum means.
Yeah, well, that was a great overview. The other part I'll add with the 4-year residential college is the community aspect. That's a huge part of the St. Mike's culture. So I remember coming in as a first year, and I was wicked big into Frisbee, still am, became the captain of the team. But there was no divide between grades, and it turned out my first year, 90% of my best friends were all seniors. So it's really a great community where it doesn't matter who you are. There's a place for you there. I studied business administration, and I minored in Spanish. So that's where my liberal arts came in. Was I didn't know what I was going to have to minor in because a business major is required to have a minor. and I took my first required language, and then I was required to take a second semester of language, and that's where it really sparked my interest in Spanish. So now I can use that as an admission counselor when I interact with people who speak Spanish, with some parents that are Spanish speakers, to to break the ice there. I got to study abroad in Spain. We have a wonderful study abroad program with the lovely Peggy and I, who, again, just with a small liberal arts college like St. Mike's, their really personalized experience goes across the board, from your classes to your recreation, your co-curriculars, and then with programs like study abroad.
And a fun fact, Sully, I lived in Argentina and Mexico, so we'll just conduct the rest of this discussion in Spanish. No, my
Right,
Spanish is
go.
it's terrible right now, but that's awesome. I love when students are able to study a language and also get immersed in the culture, where in taking a study abroad trip like that. I think you probably felt it, how much it grew your comprehension and just your ability to actually freely use the language. I think it really changes when you have the opportunity to actually go. What are some of the other locations where students are studying abroad during normal times?
Oh man. Well, I had a lot of friends who went to Italy, England, Norway, Denmark, all over the globe. I've got a friend who's actually going to Argentina. She's going to Malbec, which is really cool. I actually did a report on Malbec and their huge wine festival. So those are some right off the top of my head. France is another big one. So we have a big network. Oh, Morocco was one of my buddies just went to Morocco, and he was an MJD major. So he got to get that experience as a journalist in Morocco. So he's acting as a journalist in his classes in Morocco, which was interesting with his interactions there. So he got to see that whole side of his study. And MJD is media and digital journalism studies.
Yeah, and for some majors like the media studies, journalism, and digital arts major, you are actually required to study abroad. If you're a language major, you're required to study abroad, and that can take a couple different forms. So maybe you're somebody who wants to go for a semester. Some of our students go for a year, and some might do something like a summer study abroad program. When I was an undergrad, that's what I did. I was a science major, and I found it really overwhelming to try and take labs abroad, or to fit in a semester where I didn't have to be in the science lab. Just didn't seem like something that I felt I could personally do. And I took advantage of studying abroad for a summer. So being gone for a month and a half in another country is also another great way to get in that study abroad, either requirement or experience that you might want to have. I know some of our students who have gone to Japan, South Africa. I'm really good friends with a couple St. Mike's alumni here who have studied abroad in places like Chile and England. So we can really send you all over. Another beautiful piece of being a small school is our study abroad advisor can work with students one-on-one. And even if we've never sent a student to a certain region before, she'll just make sure it all checks out, that your credits will transfer, and then we'll send you on your way.
That's awesome. What are some, and either Danielle or Sully, what are some interesting classes that students can take at St. Mike's, or popular classes or that students are taking? Is there anything like that that sticks out to you?
So something this semester that I'm really excited about that was just announced is we are doing a public health core. So we had public health as a major. It started last year. It's still a brand new program, but this is going to be a 2-credit class. Most classes at St. Mike's are 4 credits. All of our students typically take 4 4-credit classes each semester. So this would be in addition to that. And they really learn from all different lenses. So from a scientific lens, or from a policy lens, from a communications lens, how the country and the world are experiencing this current pandemic. And then they will actually help all of us employees of the college disseminate that information to our students. They will help with the policies and the protocols at our college at that level. We're going to have students who are engaged in that evaluation process throughout the semester and throughout the year. And they'll get some credits for taking that course. So that's a really cool one. We often have some pop-up courses similar to that, where a professor might say, I am really interested in this current event. I am going to be lecturing for these 6 or 7, say, Thursday evenings this semester. If you can come to them all, great. And we'll have a great time with this, studying this current event together. So those are some things that I found are really cool. Sully, I don't know if you have some favorite classes or some interesting ones that you've heard of.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the cool ones, the few really cool ones that I didn't personally take was math for environmental justice, or math for social justice, which is really cool. Just a different way to apply mathematics, because for me, algebra wasn't my forte. So it's just a different way to focus that. And put it on a different lens so that you can connect with it a little more. Another one that's really cool and that is always an amazing performance is the African drumming classes that are put on, which are very interactive for the audience. So I went to watch a few of my friends and ended up getting dragged on and in dancing. They would teach you these easily choreographed dances. So the whole crowd was involved in it. Which I always think is amazing, and the music is so cool and different. And then on that kind of same note, one of the classes that I took as liberal arts was my art credit was a dance class, and I took modern dance, which translated into my day-to-day life in ways I didn't think it would. From falling, because we would do these different falls, and my professor was like, okay, it's icy sometimes out on the sidewalk, and so if you feel yourself slipping, do this fall and you'll be okay. And then to just being aware of my body and like walking upstairs, your leg position, like my leg position changed, just being aware of different muscles and stuff. So it was really, those are top 3 just really interesting classes for me.
Those are really good anecdotes. Like this. You never know, when you can find usefulness in something. So that's great. And Danielle, I love the discussion about faculty members who find something that's current, something timely, and translate that into helping, teach the students how they can actually take action on something, or to actually use it, as opposed to just rote memorization of, facts and things like that. How can we take what we're learning and actually implement it in some way for the good of humanity, or whatever it is, And so I think, especially in times right now, like public health, when you mentioned public health, I'm thinking, oh gosh, like I'm hearing so much more about that. And this, obviously the times right now, we will hear more and more of that. So what about in terms of academic areas and areas of study? I don't ever ask, like, what's the most popular major, what are the most students in, because I don't know that actually always translates to this strength of majors or programs that you're really proud of. Are there programs that you'd say these are kind of our highlight, like the students, it's something maybe a little bit different, or maybe it's kind of common but you do it a little bit differently? Is there anything like that?
I would say definitely being in Vermont, environmental science and environmental studies. So whether you really want to get into the research aspect and get really scientific, so you opt for environmental science, or maybe you want to go into policy or teaching, and maybe you take the environmental studies route. I would say that being in Vermont, just kind of the home of being green and eco-friendly. We have a brand new Center for the Environment that just really has brought all of these green initiatives and things like those majors and minors, and our St. Mike's Farm, which grows food for anybody in the community who wants it, and provides some of our food for our dining hall. Some of the research that students do on best growing practices and things of that nature. just really making sure they're all in this central hub on campus now through that Center for the Environment. I think that that's something that we do a really, really good job of. And especially being a majority undergraduate campus means that our students are researching with their professors, doing field work with their professors, maybe as soon as their first year at St. Mike's. So that's definitely a standout program. Teaching has always been a standout program for us. I think that that really ties into the commitment to service and community that most of our students who decide to call St. Mike's home are drawn to in the first place. So we have K through 12. So you can decide if you want elementary school, secondary, and if you want to stay for a 5th year, students can get their master's degree actually just adding that 5th year on and starting to take some of those graduate level courses when they're doing their student teaching as a senior. So those are 2 programs that I think we do really well. As with criminology, public health, definitely both very timely areas of study. And Sully was a business administration major. Business and psych are often some of our largest majors and most popular. Sully, I don't know if there are any majors that you really saw stand out as a student that maybe you or your friends were in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you mentioned the really cool ones that are definitely Vermont applicable. And I think the main thing to pair that with is the kind of curriculum that St. Mike's runs. It's a very hands-on, experiential learning environment. So no matter whether you're in business or art, you're working on projects that are going to be directly applicable to your life after St. Mike's. So you're really getting ready, and it's not theoretical. Like in my finance classes, I was working with real businesses. I was working on problems that Burton faced. We analyzed a decision they made, whether to move their operations to Austria and do everything over there, or whether to expand their Burlington operations. And we looked at that, and being a native Vermonter, that would be jobs leaving Vermont. That would be all of these different aspects. So that was what was really cool. And so no matter what major you pick at St. Mike's, you have a lot of really passionate professors with interesting coursework. So I think that, I mean, you can't go wrong.
I feel like, all the references to the outdoor nature of, students. And I think Burlington, people, you kind of have to have a passion for adventure and the outdoors and the environment and all of those kinds of things. And I feel like the packing list that you must send out to first year students probably looks a lot like my kids' like summer camp packing list, like some of the stuff that they had to bring with them, because I feel like you need to take advantage of the location when you're there. If you're going to St. Mike's, there's so much, and I've been to Burlington a couple of times, and it's amazing. And I think you have so many good resources right in your backyard. And then Sully, you mentioned Burton. I think, thinking about businesses that are headquartered locally or nearby, I'm sure as a business major, in addition to case studies like that, I think you probably have opportunities for internships and, obviously people potentially having employment after that, which is also an awesome opportunity with the location. So in terms of outcomes, are there any notable alumni that you want to reference? Is there anybody that you think people should know about that went to St. Mike's?
I mean, the name, just talking about snowboards, reminded me of a St. Mike's alum that I got connected with. I've grown up working in the ski industry at a local ski shop here, and I'm from Ludlow, Vermont, so just a hop, skip, and a jump south. And I was looking to expand into the ski industry after school. Of course, I ended up here, and this is awesome. I love it. But while I was looking at that, I met Dan Sullivan, who was an alum, and he is one of the founders of Rome Snowboards. So that was really cool for me to connect with him and see somebody who also had a passion in Vermont. And of course, when he was starting snowboarding too, it wasn't well accepted yet as a recreational sport. It was more a bunch of hooligans just running amok in the world. So it was really cool to talk to him and about his experiences. And that just reminded me of that connection.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Another cool one is Senator Patrick Leahy. He is a notable St. Mike's alum, as well as, oh, his name is escaping me. He was part of the Joint Chiefs of the Armed Forces. Sully, I don't know if you remember General Dunkert, but he is also a notable St. Mike's alumni. You'll find our alumni everywhere. For a small school, it's really surprising how far our reach goes, even outside of the New England area.
Well, one of the things I love, and I went to a small school as well, is when you are out somewhere far away from your campus, or outside of Vermont, if you have a St. Mike's shirt on or something and someone, says, oh, hey, I'm an alum of that. I always love that feeling, that, like you said, for small schools, there's just that instant connection when you see someone. And it's amazing how far the reach does go, for the smaller schools. So can we talk a little bit about the admission process? Can we talk just about what students need to do if they're interested in St. Mike's and what you're looking for and who's the right applicant?
Yeah, absolutely. So admission process, first and foremost, we're on the Common App. So that's nice and easy. We don't have a supplemental application or anything like that. So you can just add us to your Common App. We have 3 different admission deadlines. So we have 2 early action deadlines. They are early action, so you still have until that May 1 enrollment deadline to decide if you want to attend St. Mike's. And then we have our regular decision deadline. So November 1st and December 1st are our 2 early action deadlines, and February 1st is our regular decision. So I usually tell my students, if you are somebody who has taken challenging courses through your junior year, you have had a pretty successful 3 years in high school thus far, go ahead and apply early, because then you have all the pieces of the puzzle sooner. You have your financial aid package sooner. You hopefully are able to connect with your admission counselor, visit campus, things of that nature. Maybe you're somebody who had a dip in your grades at some point. Something happened and you need your senior grades to show that you really can still achieve highly in the classroom, or maybe you're somebody who, for the first time, you're trying one of those harder level courses offered at your school as a senior. That's when I typically tell my students to hold off until that regular decision. Apply February 1st. So let us see what that first trimester of senior year looks like for you, and that can really help a student out. We do a holistic review of applications. So we'll definitely be looking at our transcript, looking at how you've done academically, but then we also really want our students to be a good fit for St. Mike's. You've heard us say community a couple times now. We are a small school. You will get to know so many of your peers, so many of your professors, so many of the staff members really well. So we like to just make sure that students kind of hold those values that we hold as a community near and dear, and our students who want to continue that involvement. So we really do read closely that co-curricular section of the Common App. We really do read your essay, hoping to find out more about you. We take demonstrated interest into consideration. So, if I'm your admission counselor, have you chatted with me? Have we maybe done a Zoom call? Have you attended one of our online information sessions? Have you attended one of our online open houses? And anything like that, that just shows us that you do perhaps see yourself here for the next 4 years, can be helpful in the admission process. But we're not one of those schools where we say, oh, you don't have this GPA, I'm not going to look at the rest of your application. We certainly take a look at all of our students regardless of GPA. For the past couple of years, we have been test optional. So if you are a student who likes your SAT or ACT score, you have had the ability to take the test right now. Maybe it boosts your GPA or it's reflective of your grades, then great, go ahead, submit those scores if that's something that you want to do. But maybe you're a student who just doesn't want to submit scores, hasn't been able to take the exams. Maybe you're just not a good standardized test taker. A lot of students who are great students, just maybe don't test well in that standardized testing environment, then certainly you do not have to submit those scores. You're still considered for merit scholarships. You're still considered for the honors program. We truly are a test optional institution.
What is the range of merit awards for students?
So that typically will range anywhere from 10 to 12,000 a year to upwards of 25 to 30,000 a year. And those merit scholarships are locked in for all 4 years, provided that you aren't put on academic probation. So most of our students don't have to worry about that. It's not like you have to maintain a certain GPA. And I know that's something that some schools do have as policies for certain merit scholarships. So definitely something to be aware of as you're weighing your options.
Are there any things that students, so I'll give just a intro to this, is one of the concerns right now with the students coming up, class of 2021, 22, possibly even 23, is that there's been obviously disruption in things like extracurriculars. Do you have any advice for those students in terms of how they should be thinking about this? And, I can say what I tell them is, everyone knows this is happening. This is a worldwide thing. And so the colleges are understanding that, sports have been canceled. You can't do your musical, whatever it is. Any words of advice for those students who are concerned about how that's going to be viewed on their college applications?
Yeah, again, certainly we do all know that this is happening in our world. And a nice thing with the Common App is they have a section for students to elaborate, if they wish to do so, about how the pandemic and how current events have affected their lives. And that could be their co-curricular activities, or it could be their family, their personal health, really anything that students want us to know. We'll take the time to read that. I think sometimes chatting with admission counselors can be helpful, because maybe a student didn't get to participate in sports or clubs and organizations, but maybe there's something else that they've been doing. So maybe you've helped sew masks right now for your community, or maybe you've been attending marches. Maybe something going on has really sparked an interest in public health or social justice, and that's been something that a student has really been focusing their energy on. So there are all those ways that are outside of the typical high school experience, where we can still get to know you as a person, you as a student outside of the classroom.
I heard a really great statement from somebody in higher ed who said that this is a time for students to focus on things that they would do if they didn't think anyone cared. And by that I don't mean go out and rob a bank, but but what I mean is, if there's an activity or something that you either haven't had time to do because you've been involved in scheduled organized sports or organized activities. A great example, one of my students has taught herself, or she's been doing baking tutorials, she's always wanted to do that, but that's not a priority during normal times. And so I thought that was a really great sentiment, just, about kids. What do you do when it doesn't matter, and because that really, I think, is a good indicator of who that student is, and to your point, Danielle, using some creativity. What are the things that you can do now, whether it's making masks or getting involved in social justice issues and being more aware, even, I think, is something that right now we're seeing so much more of that with high school students, which, there's sometimes in bad situations, it brings out some silver linings of things like that. And I think the awareness piece is one of those. So, and you mentioned some of those things, and I'd say, just like as maybe a wrap up about St. Mike's, is sharing a little bit maybe about who you think a St. Mike's student is. What are they like? And I think of some of those things that you just mentioned. I'm thinking, yes, that would be a St. Mike's. Yes, those kids doing that would fit in well. Maybe share a little bit about that. And Sully, you can chime in maybe about the community. I mean, and again, you've used that word lots of times. And I think from what I know about St. Michael's College, I think that's accurate. I feel like that's a great one worder, to do that. So share a little bit about who's a good St. Mike's student.
Yeah, I tend to think of the students who are just maybe involved in everything or are really into something and like to throw their passion into it. And students who aren't afraid of failure. So I think that's something that's really cool about St. Mike's is our faculty members, our staff members, we really do encourage our students to try things. So, oh, maybe you want to try this class, or maybe you want to try this extracurricular activity. Maybe you want to try skiing because you're in Vermont, or maybe you want to try working with our refugee resettlement, new American community that's here. Those are things that we really push our students to try. So students who are looking for a college that will challenge themselves to get outside of their comfort zone. And students who, yes, they are coming to college for their education and are also coming to college to just further develop themselves as a human being and as a citizen of this world. So I would say those students who are willing to prioritize different things, and yes, knowing that grades are important and doing well in class is important, but that it's just as important to be there for your community members and to be involved in that. Maybe those letter grades aren't what defines our St. Mike students and aren't necessarily what defines our applicants. Yes, we want to see you be successful academically, and we want to see you be successful in life in general, and just go forth and do well and do good in this world that really needs it right now.
That's great. Well, I thank you guys for sharing so much about St. Mike's, and Sully, for some of your personal stories of your experience there. I think that's always helpful. And I think as an admission counselor, working for your alma mater, sometimes you have, I feel like that's the easiest job in the world. I did the same thing. I worked at my alma mater for 5 years after I graduated, and I thought it was the easiest job because I'd already purchased the product, and I believed in it. And so I think, the ability for you to share some of those stories about your experiences and what you really thought were the shining pieces of a St. Michael's College community, I think is really great. So I appreciate you guys taking the time. So Danielle, if people have questions or want to reach out or find their admission counselor, is that just, let's go to the website, find who that person is and reach out that way?
Yep, so on the website, you can go to our admission page and you can find out who your counselor is. We break it up by what state or region you go to high school in. So we know that sometimes students live somewhere, maybe their permanent address isn't in the same state as their school address. So that's just something to keep in mind. Also, just our general admission at smcvt.edu email. Then we can connect you to your counselor, as well as we have a pretty active Instagram account for our Office of Admission that also we tend to post some pretty good information and often get questions from prospective students on that. So they can always connect with us that way.
And I can vouch for your Instagram because you tagged us in your visit for today. So yay, exciting. Well, thank you guys for doing this. I appreciate you taking the time, and good luck to you as you get started in the new school year. And if anyone has questions, be sure to reach out to the St. Michael's College admission team.
Great. Thank you so much, Kristina.
Absolutely.